I guess we just start.
I guess. Hello, and welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast.
Where we read Homestuck and tell you about it. My name's Lydia, and I have read Homestuck before.
And my name's Alex, and I super haven't.
So this week is a live episode. Is that a high five?
Yeah, we're doing it to prove.
Nice.
Because that could never be replicated digitally.
Oh, yeah. That was, in fact, neither of us clapping separately on a Skype call, I promise you. We are literally on, like, a futon in Halifax somewhere. Man.
Yeah.
Real human beings. So.
Human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a Homestuck?
No. What's a mob to a ham? Maybe could have been, like, okay, but, like.
It's a ham to a stuck steak?
Oh, God, wait.
What is a ham to a steak?
I don't know, but I just snorted. I'm like, I need it. Oh, but yeah. I'm sorry. It's gross, people.
I was gonna try to not edit this one. Preserve the moment.
The authenticity. You could leave that in. That's not too disgusting.
Okay. All right.
Use your editorial discretion.
All right.
So this week...
Oh, yeah.
This week we're reading pages 3402 to 3507?
Yes.
Oh my god, I crushed it. I didn't even look, you guys. I just knew. Probably because I read it this morning. And in which a bunch of stuff happens. This is a really dense one.
It is. Yeah, this might go pretty long, but it's like a deluxe live episode, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, like, with that, I guess we'll just, like, get going, right?
Well, I guess first we should say, like, how was your trip? Like, how was your flight? What's the, like, itinerary here?
What's the itinerary? Oh, what?
Go ahead.
I got in, it's a quick flight from where I live normally.
So actually, I was on the bus to get to the airport longer than she was on the plane to get to the airport.
It's true, the flight was only, like, just shy of an hour.
And I was on the bus for an hour and a half.
God.
Because there was, like, a detour. But then we took a cab back, so it was a lot shorter.
Mm-hmm. The most expensive cab ride I have ever taken by a mile.
Yeah, if you are ever flying into Halifax, make sure to have, like, transportation set up, because it's a costly fare.
Yeah. But yeah, I did get in. We did manage to get back, somehow to the city. And that was, like, late at night, so I pretty much just fell asleep. And then this morning, Alex took me... Well, this morning we did a video call with our longtime internet friend, Sai, who I guess we just want to give a shout-out to.
Shout out, Sai.
Yay. Should we give her screen name or no? Okay, no. If you know Sai, you love Sai, and if you don't, then...
Sai.
We hope you'll discover her someday, but you'll have to come to her in your own time.
And then we explored Halifax a bit.
Yeah, then I saw a harbor, which is not a bay, but a harbor. And apparently if you call it a bay, they get real mad.
Apparently.
It's a different thing than a bay, it's a harbor. It's the largest, second largest?
Second largest, after Sydney.
Natural harbor.
I was trying to, like, give Lydia some trivia.
That's great.
I'm sorry. I was trying to give Lydia some trivia in the cab, and I was like, oh, it's like, I think it's the largest, it was like, this is the bay here, and the cab, who hadn't said anything up to this point, basically, was like, it's a harbor, not a bay. And I was like, oh yeah, sorry, you're right. It's like the largest natural bay, right? Or natural harbor, right? And it's like second largest after Sydney.
Oh man, that guy was trying so hard not to be disgruntled, but he super was.
He super was.
Oh, that's rough. But yeah, I did manage not to gruntle the cab driver too bad.
Yeah, I did that on my own.
So we gruntled the guy, then we did a video chat, which was super cool. It's always cool to, like, talk to someone in a new modality when you've, like, only known them via, like, a textual platform.
That's so meta.
Yes? How so?
Because that's, like, what happens in Homestuck.
That's... Well, okay, so, like, it is...
Oh, it never happens
but
in Homestuck.
Not
They never meet. They cross paths and just barely miss each other. Alright, so... in Homestuck.
Oh, God. That actually is a really emotional thing. And I can't say anything. Sigh. be here for me.
Okay, well, this podcast isn't just for Sai.
No, I know, but like, no, I just, because she has been reading, and so, like, the person that we were talking to before, she's been reading it, and has been, like, talking to me about, like, stuff that happens after where we've been reading, and I'm still not caught up, but it's cool to be able to talk about stuff that happens in the story after this point.
Yeah, because I'm off limits for, like, spoiler discussion.
Yeah, so it's been cool. But yeah, so what do we do? We saw the harbor. We went to the farmer's market. Went and farmed some markets. Some scones.
She had poutine.
I did have poutine. You guys, poutine's super good. It, like, I would only want it, like, once every, like, month or two, but, like, man.
I have it, like, once a year.
Yeah, it's, like, some serious food. Like, it's not messing around. It's, like, a brick of sustenance, but, like, damn, it's some good sustenance. They had veggie poutine, like, yeah, that was pretty chill.
You know, veggie gravy. That's all you need.
Like, yeah, I don't know. That was nice. Yeah. What else did we do? We got some cheapo gelato that was really good. Mm-hmm. We got some local beer that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. We poked around the Halifax Library, like the new one, which is really pretty. If you're ever in the city, go see it. It's nice. You could, like, just sit and, like, poke at their comics shelves all day. Maybe not all day, but for a very fruitful hour or two. And then we pretty much came back here, and now we're recording.
So there you are, and here we are.
And here we are. Hello.
So, this week in Homestuck. We begin with, the Exile Town boys and girl. Mm-hmm. And above WV, who's looking up at the sky, there appears, Egg.
With the sound effect, egg!
Yeah.
So and there's just an enormous...
So the egg lands with a solid egg instead of thud.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then immediately... So there's a lot of this... In this reading in particular, I feel like there's a lot of, like, the gag of, like, he'll make some kind of a joke, and then he'll do the same joke in, like, the next panel in a very different way, and, like, that comes up a couple times. So, like...
Right.
So, like... A huge eggy-looking thing descends out of the sky, and then, like, that's the narration, and then the next page is Jade gives Dave a punch card of an eggy-looking thing, mm-hmm. And that's the joke, get it? Because eggs and Dave, and we also just saw an eggy, yeah. So then... Dave gets super dragged. He gets wrecked.
What happens?
I don't remember exactly what happens, but listen to the Homestuck podcast where we tell you about what happens. A lot of this was like jokes and like interpersonal interactions that are kind of hard to convey, but
yeah, there's a lot of like nice character kind of just dialogue in this reading.
Yeah. Do you kind of see what I mean about like how like well like these characters like
for sure?
I don't
know. But then so Dave makes this egg with the
equipment,
all the stuff. There's gonna be like there's a whole bunch of like more equipment talk, like all the, like the machines that you make with grist, and like you use grist to make more things. In this reading, a whole bunch of like upgrades happen. It really is boring, honestly. Like basically, they can synthesize things.
Yeah, they basically figure out that you can build stuff onto other stuff. They make like a one-stop shopping alchemy machine, but that doesn't happen till the end. But we'll probably kind of hand wave over that because, like, honestly, I don't give a...
It doesn't seem like it matters that much.
Yeah, it's not plot relevant at all, and I don't give a care.
It's not even like interesting from a game mechanic perspective.
Yeah,
because it's like not a game mechanic.
Yeah,
it's just like this kind of like tacked on way to almost like justify game mechanics, like getting objects without like having to find them.
Yeah,
like in a game.
Yeah,
but there's no real reason for this all to be happening except that probably like incite some incidents like with the alchemy stuff.
So one thing is that alchemy is an important concept to be very familiar with.
Yeah,
because it becomes plot relevant later on in like kind of confusing ways, and you have to understand it. But then it's also like it's really funny. It's like there's a lot of like alchemy humor later on because you'd be amazed the kinds of like prop humor you can do just making shit. But it's definitely like gratuitous setup.
Yeah. So that part of this reading kind of drags on, but there's other stuff too.
Such as. Okay, you're gonna have to edit out some silences here.
Nope.
No?
That was fine. So the bird sword sprite that Dave has carries this red egg away to hatch it.
So we mentioned that Dave's got this Colonel Sprite. It has flown out of the Crux shooter. It's been prototyped with a bird with a sword through its chest, right? That happened last week. Jade dropped something stupid into the Colonel. And this week, it saw the Cruxite, like, egg, right? Like how Rose made a bottle and John made an apple. Dave made this egg, and it's supposed to be, I guess, either he breaks it or it hatches or something, and that's how he enters the medium and, like, avoids the meteor impact and everything. Except, his sprite just, like, seizes it and flies up onto the top of this, like, inaccessible, like, structure and builds a nest of, like, shitty puppets and swords.
Yeah.
And, like, cradles the egg.
And Jade just, like, throws the microwave, which is, like, filled with puppets that are flying out.
Yeah.
Just off the roof.
Jade just starts, like, wrecking stuff. Like, Jade is a very, like, chaotic server player. Oh, man. Just no regard for the Strider household whatsoever.
For sure.
Then it was more, like, boring stuff about punch cards and grist, and don't, like, worry about it.
We do learn that the more players there are in the chain, like one server connected to one client, the new players who enter get more grist when they start.
It's true.
And also, Dave, he installs like a grist torrent so that he can just like bleach grist from John, because John has like so much.
Right, because John's not really building anything anymore, but he's still just, like, fighting stuff. Yeah, he's just like
gathering loot. He's farming.
Yes. Then at some point there's a cameo appearance of Nancho Party, which is a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff thing.
Okay.
Then Dave starts installing his client software. So Dave has brought Rose in, and he's installing his client software so that he can be both a server and a client at the same time. Mm-hmm. And he can enter the medium with Jade as his server player. And he sees Rose start to, like, fight some imps. Mm-hmm. There's just, like, really good dialogue between Rose and John.
Yeah. There's another R-slur, which isn't superb, but whatever.
Yeah. It's like, and it's John, like, come on, man, like, he should,
he's a good boy.
He's a sweet boy, whatever.
So the flowery text that's been pestering Rose, it tells her that as the seer, which it already established she is, she guides the air, which is what John is. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of like tells her to tell him what to do. Mm-hmm.
They also are figuring out that they're on different planets.
Yeah.
Which, like, we know as readers, but they're kind of figuring that out.
Exactly. Or at least they seem to think they're in different places. They probably don't know that it's different planets.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. The medium's also, like, weird, so, they could be in completely different dimensions, like, who even knows? Then we start getting into, there's a ton of troll conversations in this reading, and, like, God help me, I'm not going to blurt out any of their names, but, like, just, like, just bear with me here.
No edits. So we actually get to meet some of the trolls properly, basically. Starting with Gallows Calibrator.
Yes. Yeah, so she is teal text with, 4s, 1s, and 3s, replacing, like, A's, E's, and I's.
Yeah, it's kind of, like, just annoying to read at first, but you kind of just, like, get acclimated to it.
You do. You get remarkably used to all of these typing quirks.
Especially since, like, there's a lot of text in this reading. Like, there's several, like, pages long conversations that each of the trolls have in this reading.
Yeah, there's a ton of there's just a ton of pages, and like, they're individual pages, but these pester logs are, like, long, and yeah, it's amazing how quickly you get used to their quirks.
Yeah, so I think we're talking with 4 different I was going to say imps, 4 different trolls this reading. So we'll start with the first one to speak, which is GC, Gallows Calibrator.
And I believe this is the first time that we see her, right?
I think we met her before.
We met her where?
I just remember her typing style.
Okay. Yeah, so we've seen her before, but she's, like, really talking now.
Yeah.
And she starts off deep weird and kind of dials it back. You know, she starts right in with...
She says that Rose's text smells good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alex honestly wrote the words "makes sense" SCENTS to me as a pun in this document.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're absolved. I absolve you.
But I think more importantly, at least for the immediate term, this troll tells Rose that she thinks the other trolls have been being stupid by speaking to the humans in reverse order, like throughout their timeline, basically.
Right.
She's like, you know what? I'm gonna start speaking to Rose like at the earliest points and continue going forward in time, like some kind of weirdo.
Yeah, she's very smart about that. GC has her head screwed on. That.
Which Rose appreciates.
Rose appreciates, yeah. There's just a lot of really good wordplay. Oh, well, okay, so it's an exposition dump is one thing. She just... It's stuff that we mostly know as readers, and especially that, like, I know as having read it before, that I was able to kind of piece together for you guys, but, she just kind of fully explains exiles as such.
Yeah, she contextualizes a lot of things.
She does.
She explains that in each instance of the medium, the players each have a different role, and that isn't predetermined. It's kind of like generated when they enter the medium. But I think in general there will be a seer and an heir at least.
Okay.
But I think it's a seer of something and an heir of something, and each of those is different.
Okay.
I think.
Basically.
All right.
You're basically right.
Okay.
And then, yeah, there's an entire mythology embedded into the world, like, that is generated based on that, like, title, or that role.
Right.
And then it's explained that exiles on your dead planet, like, after your reckoning, which we aren't told what a reckoning is yet, but you should be able to infer it. I won't try and explain it to you, but if you think about what's been going on, what we talked about with the meteor map that Rose comes upon in the lab, and all of the meteor impacts, and then the planet is dead at some point, and
then Carib's people get exiled to that planet, and their role is to eventually kind of rebuild its civilization.
Yep. With the idea that it is seeded again.
Right, and we can see that looks like it's what happened in the interlude.
Yeah.
Interlude?
Mm-hmm. Intermission.
Yeah. Thank you. With the other world, which is probably the world that the trolls are from, where you saw Spade Slick in the present and also in the distant past as an exile. And then in the intermission, at the very end of it, he unearthed this old technology, and the troll says that once a technology is unearthed, the planet is ripe for seeding again.
And we aren't told quite what seeding means yet.
No, but it seems to involve the destruction of civilization on the planet and the transportation of some children to the medium.
Yep.
So, it's some pretty deep cosmology there.
Yeah.
It's the vibe I'm getting is Jupiter ascending.
Oh, bigger and weirder.
Yeah.
But a little bit. It feels a little Jupiter ascending right now because the pieces are kind of disparate, and it's like the bees can sense royalty. Like it does seem kind of arbitrary.
Right. But yeah, like this was a hugely helpful info dump, and I'm really grateful that Lydia has been holding my hand so far, so that I was able to like piece together everything that was going on here, and I felt like nothing went over my head.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad. Yeah, normally you'd just be like trawling the wiki, and getting spoiled like a schmuck, aka me. Then we have another cool troll conversation It's Jade's. Actually go back into the past. It's Jade's birthday, and Jade is getting trolled by a carcinogeneticist, like the shouty, all caps, gray text guy.
Mm-hmm. And he tells her that when her dreambot blows up in the future, she needs to contact the trolls, and that is because in her future she has told him to tell her past to contact them when it blows up.
Right.
It's comic.
Yeah, and that stuff only gets weirder. The kids communicating to themselves via the trolls, like, through time, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think we forgot to mention with the Exiles, another one of their roles is to close paradox loops.
Yep.
Yes. And that's part of, like, them communicating with the people in the medium.
Right.
And also, the seer is able to more lucidly hear the text that's being input by the Exiles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess that's the reason why Rose's was so flowery. It was, like, more elaborated, maybe?
Partly. You'll also find out who her exile is,
okay.
And there's a reason that has to do with that as well.
Sure.
So we find out that Jade's robot is going to explode. Then there's another slur, which is a bummer.
Yeah, but at least it's, like, one from a previous conversation that's being repeated, I guess.
I guess. Jade starts talking to John, and this is a while ago, so John still has his old handle, which is Ghosty Trickster. And Jade is talking about how she feels weird with the trolls because, like, normally she has an idea about, like, what's going to happen and what people want because she dreams on Prospect and she sees things in the clouds. When it eclipses with Skya and she sees in those clouds images of her future and of the past, but the trolls are in a completely different universe, so or at least a completely different instance of the medium, I should say. And so I actually don't remember if they're in a different universe, but they're in a different medium, and I do remember whether or not they're in a different universe, and I can't tell you.
Okay. They're in a different.
They're in a very different place.
They're
anyway.
Outside of her ability to see. In the medium. Or in Prospect.
So she obviously isn't dreaming about them, so she doesn't know anything. But she says she sounds pretty hostile towards carcinogeneticist when she's talking to him. But then once she's done, she actually says she finds them funny. Like, she doesn't seem to mind them as much. But then John does talk about not liking to be pranked so much, and he's just, like, kind of bored with it and sick of it, and so he decides to change his handle.
Yes.
Then we sort of zoom out, I guess, and we see carcinogeneticist angrily...
And is just, like, kind of fuming at his keyboard, and it's the one that we saw at the end of the intermission.
Right.
The little angry boy.
He's got gray skin, he's got... very wild black hair, little nubby horns, and sharp teeth.
Kind of probably intentionally looks like John in like silhouette.
Yes.
But yeah, and he has like little candy corn horns.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know about Homestuck, these horns are like literally like striped like candy corn. Like they start orange and then there's a yellow section and then a white section.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making shapes on my head that only Lydia can see. And each troll seems to have a different size and pattern of horns, but always two?
Always two, always the same color.
Okay.
But wildly different size and shape.
As we'll see in this reading.
Then we get an important panel that I want to point out is important, where Jade, it's treated as this throwaway line. Oh, Jade gets a package from her pen pal, and he's made some modifications to this gift that you're putting together to give to John. And it's ready to send to him. And listen, the deal with this pen pal, I'm still not sure I could explain it to you. I have, like, researched it. I still don't understand how that happened. So, if you have read, and, like, DM me personally on Twitter. Don't send to Alex, don't send to our group inbox, but DM me.
Don't send it on Twitter, because those go to me. Or on Tumblr, because those go to me.
Yeah. Send stuff to my personal on, like, tell me how that works, because I truly don't know, and it's important. It's not so much the mechanics of it, I guess, aren't important, but, like, I just want to figure it out. So, yeah. Then we move on to GC again, and she starts trolling John.
By just laughing at him.
She just laughs.
Like,
and John is like...
types out, ha ha ha, he he he.
Yeah, and John is just like, ah, and then...
He starts, like, replying with laughter, and she's like, how dare you laugh at a blind girl?
Yeah.
So we learn that she's blind. That might be part... So she's the one who says she could smell the color of text.
Yes.
So I was thinking that was, like, synesthesia.
Yeah.
But it's probably has to do with, like, her display, like, her monitor.
Yeah.
And she calls him, like...
I can neither confirm or deny.
Okay. She vows to kill him if they ever meet.
She literally... So that's the thing. This exchange is actually... Like, it's genuinely creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you find it genuinely creepy?
I found it disturbing.
Yeah. And I think part of it... Like, I didn't find it nearly as disturbing when I first read this comic as I do now, having seen, like, real...
online threats. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, how... deeply, deeply unsettling that is. She goes from, like, just laughing at him to just arbitrarily being like, if I meet you, I swear that I will kill you, and I will, what does she say? I will listen to your blood as I smell you die. And, like, dead logs off. And, like, she's not fucking around, like...
Yeah. On a positive note, I think it's interesting that all her text, all her sensing things are that she never mentions sight. Like, she says she'll sniff out a planet, I think.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of cool. Like, that is consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, she does not use visual metaphors.
Yeah.
Although, interestingly, we find out later she is the seer of her group.
Yeah, well, I think we already learned that.
Okay, yeah, so she's, the blind seer, which is a trope and whatever.
Yeah. I guess so, but that's kind of like,
What?
I think it's interesting how that's being, like, it's very, like, dedicated to the fact that she cannot see.
Specifically, yeah, I like that. It's not just played for, like, when it's plot convenient. It is something that's very much a part of her. Which is... at all times.
Yeah, something that, like, I love Toph, like, from Avatar so much. But she does, like, just because the writers weren't paying attention, she does use, like, visual metaphors.
Well, and I think, actually, it's more accurate to use visual metaphors just because... if you grow up, like, learning a language spoken by sighted people, we use visual metaphors, you know? Right. And they make sense.
And I guess Toph can see to an extent. For her.
Right, and she has, sensing and stuff. So, whereas, and Toph, I think, was blind from birth, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to tell you too much about GC, but...
so it's a deliberate choice on her part to never...
Yeah, her circumstances are very interesting. So it reflects a lot about her... identity, about the fact that she relies on these non-sight-based figurative language instances.
Yeah. So I think she mentions in passing that John is, like, a disgrace to ectobiology or something.
Yeah.
She just mentions ectobiology.
Yeah.
And that kind of seeds him with the idea of ectobiology.
Right.
As his handle. Because this is still in the past.
Right.
When he was thinking about changing his handle.
Right.
And then...
So John imagines that by ectobiology, it just, it, like, it rings sort of Ghostbusters bells for him.
Oh, yeah.
And he vibes with it in that way. That's not whatsoever what ectobiology is, but we will find that out much later. Okay. It's a lot more interesting.
Cool. And then we see her. We see GC.
We see GC, yes. So she has... sort of pointy, like, longish hair. In the graphic that we see there, it looks a lot longer relative to her body than it, like, really is, but because she's, like, drawn in a sprite view, but also with, like, some foreshortening going on, it looks longer than it is. It's, like, sort of, like, chin length, like, very spiky hairdo with, like, little side bangs, and, she has little, like, very narrow, like, leaf-shaped, or, like, I don't know, like, lemniscate
kind of
lenses.
Lemniscate?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
It's a math term for exactly that. It's like it would be an ellipse.
Nerd.
A two-ended teardrop.
Nerd.
God. That's a good word for it. It's a two-ended teardrop, and they're lemniscate.
I love that.
Yeah. And they're red.
Yeah, they're like translucent red. Mm-hmm. So you can see her eyes, but she can't see you.
Mm-hmm. She has an astrological symbol on her t-shirt that I didn't bother to look up.
Right, they all do.
Yeah. Hers is
the guy has the Cancer sign, which is the only one I know.
Yeah. She has. I
think it's the one that's an omega and then a line.
And then a line underneath. Yeah. So if you know what that one is, then you know what her astrological sign is. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter. Don't tell us.
Yeah. Then we cut over to PM, who is.
I just wanted to mention that if CG looks like John, she is reminiscent of Jade in her design.
Yes, a little bit.
A little bit, and she also has her horns are like longer and pointier than CG's, but like not any more like thick. They're the same like diameter.
Mm-hmm. The next thing we see is PM, who is transportalizing into the Dark Kingdom's palace.
Yeah, so this is past PM when she is Parcel Mistress, which is really cute.
Yeah, hang on a second. Nope. Wait. Thanks.
So she's followed AR into enemy territory.
Anemone.
Don't kill yourself. That's not the voice.
It was close. It's close enough. Then she walks past. It says, "You have no idea where you're going, and you're too nervous to ask anyone." As she walks past, clearly whoever Diamond's Droog was, long before he was Diamond's Droog. I think we actually saw his name already. As his life as an agent. What was his name? And I don't know.
I thought it was an alternate version of him. Because it's an alternate version of Spades.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not, he is not literally...
It's a character with the same sprite as Droog.
Yeah, he will not, so... do you want me to explain it a little bit?
Nope.
Okay. Nope. Well, it's never something that's plot relevant or made
Just say yes or no. Is it to the same degree that the trolls so far look reminiscent of the humans?
Oh, no, it's way more...
It's more specific.
It's way more specific than that, yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. The fact... It's interesting that you even picked up on that you're seeing, the trolls looking similar to the kids. I don't see that.
It's because the next girl really looks like Rose.
Sort of. She has a similar...
To me, it looks a lot like Rose. Like, the eyeliner and lips.
I mean, yeah, they're both wearing makeup.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, same shape... I think
same
shaped
roughly
hair,
shaped hairstyle.
I don't know, just
we need to talk... Okay, so we need to get to them because also, I love their dynamic and I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
So AR is... PM is poking around the Dark Kingdom and she comes upon...
I just want to, note that she's not being, harassed by anyone. She's just, nervous to be there.
Right, yeah, so it's not, it's not... So it's the enemy kingdom, but, no one's, trying to stop her or anything. She's apparently she's pretending like she's paying a parking citation, so I guess that's something people do. But so she finds this red carpet and figures, all right, I'll follow this carpet. And there's a lady in a throne.
Yeah. I'll describe her, I guess.
Yeah.
So she is she's a black carapace person. Mm-hmm. She has kind of segmented, articulated joints, like a close-up of an insect. Mm-hmm.
Which the implication is all carapace people look like that, but
right. But
basically more powerful or important a character, the more powerful a character is, the more detail
with
sense. Which they'll be rendered.
Yeah. She's wearing a really cute short jester dress.
Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly sort of raggedy looking for how regal she is.
Yeah, because this is obviously the monarch. Mm-hmm. She also has these long tendrils coming one on each side of her abdomen, mm-hmm. And they have some pink stripes at the base, but then they extend out, mm-hmm. and they're kind of draped over the throne.
Yeah.
And finally, she has she has a jester hat, but mm-hmm. it's not a hat. It is her head carapace has been extruded into the shape of a jester hat.
Yeah.
In a really kind of grotesque looking way.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and finally she has white slit eyes, mm-hmm. and she has a scar vertically through one of them, which looks exactly like Spade Slick's scar.
Yeah, it does.
She also is missing an arm.
Yeah.
Like Spade Slick.
Spade Slick. Yep. Well, because of the what was it? The princess doll with one arm that got thrown in. There was something missing an arm was prototyped.
Oh, okay.
And that's why that happened. Similarly, that's why
she has
I believe the scar on her eye. I think it was the Harlequin doll had a slit eye and maybe also the missing arm.
Oh, because it got glass ejected on it.
Yeah, so that was the
makes
destroyed thing, and then the squid princess doll, I believe, was.
So, is that so? Maybe her tendrils are coming from the squid. So
That's what those are from. Yeah.
So it seems like all the prototyping is like happening physically to her body, which is horrifying.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see it happening to the imps and stuff, like it.
Right, but they mostly are just like.
I guess they're monsters. They're barely sentient.
Like
yeah,
they're being spawned like that, and they're
Yeah.
also just mostly wearing costumes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're developing. They're cat shaped, or they've got.
Right, but they're being spawned like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Her, I'm imagining like painfully like
Morphing,
exactly.
You never really get clarification on whether that is a painful process or whatever, but it adds some, especially as we find out more about like who the monarchs are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I like to read it that way. I hadn't thought of it, but I like that reading that like, yeah, it is like this excruciating process that you just have no choice of.
Yeah.
That would certainly make me resent the kids entering the medium. God.
Yeah. But basically, PM just like meekly asks her like, "Can you like overturn this parking ticket?"
Yeah.
And the monarch just like points at Jack's office.
Yep.
Which,
of course, with no actual dialogue because
right.
these the exiles don't speak.
It's also the same pointing image that was shown on Jack's monitor when she wanted him to put on his hat.
Yeah.
And she's also wearing a gold ring with 4 kind of like spherical diamond or pearl things at right angles on it. Mm-hmm.
That's a really important ring.
It's
a really, really incredibly important object.
Yeah. So like she meets her, and then she goes into Jack's office.
And then we turn our attention instead to Rose, whose exile says, "All right, you have to go. You need to go.
You need to go find your sprite and find your purpose." Mm-hmm. So remember, her sprite is Jasper's and the squid princess doll.
Right. And he has disappeared somewhere, and she has to go find him. She also has to go find her mom. Mm-hmm.
But she says the voice says you're in charge of your own like destiny now. Well, she doesn't say destiny, but like you're like on your own now. Like you can make your own decisions. So she decides to take a sip of her mom's martini and just like bleh, hates it.
We get a blah panel again.
So relatable.
Yeah.
I remember like the Calvin and Hobbes comic where like he tries like his uncle left a cigarette and he's like, "I'm so cool." Mm-hmm. And he's like takes a pull of it and he's like, gross.
What's in a martini?
It's vodka or gin, I think, and olive.
That's it?
I think so.
That's not a drink. That's vodka with an object in it.
There must be something else in it.
Like vodka and pickle juice? God.
Martini.
The martini is a cocktail made with gin and vermouth.
There you go.
Okay.
I think you can do vodka too.
Okay.
Vodka martini is a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what vermouth is though. Really, I've heard of it before.
Fortified wine
with various botanicals such as roots, barks, flowers, seeds, herbs. So like Jaeger, I guess.
I guess.
Kind of thing.
But it's very like clear.
Yeah. Yeah, also I'm not a fan of olives. So just everything about martinis seems unappetizing to me.
Yeah.
So
back with the exiles now. Out in front of the egg, a windswept let me try that again. A windswept questant suddenly appears.
So she was in the egg, I guess, but she doesn't step out of it. She like purifies out of it.
Yeah.
And she looks. Okay, so she is a white carapace person. She has the same segmented limbs as the Black Queen.
Yeah.
It's possible she has a missing arm. One of her arms might be behind her.
Right. She has the same slit eyes, but they're black on white instead of white on black.
Yeah, she's wearing rags, but also she and the Black Queen look like what's her name from Snowman.
Yep.
And also she's WQ.
Yeah.
She's White Queen.
Yeah. There you go. You're figuring it out.
Yeah.
You're getting it. Yeah. Yeah. They have the same sprite. Just, obviously she doesn't have any tentacles. She doesn't have a crown.
Yeah. She's like the vanilla version.
Yes.
Like
of the Sprite.
not modified.
Not the, yes. Okay.
Not like vanilla and chocolate.
Yeah. I was like, really?
Ebony and Ivory. Is there like a ship name for the black and white queen? Like,
I'm sure there is,
piano?
and let's...
Okay.
So anyway, we have a really funny little panel of AR and WV just, like, glancing at each other, and then glancing at her, and then glancing at each other, like, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then, meanwhile, PM...
Which is interesting, because they didn't recognize PM, but
Yeah.
I assume that they're very aware that this was the White Queen.
Well, I don't know if they can tell that this is the White Queen, but if anything, like, she's really...
Imposing.
She's really imposing. She just appeared out of thin air from this enormous egg thing that fell out of the sky. Like, what the hell? Like, yeah. Meanwhile, but PM's pretty oblivious. She's just in... Well, no, okay. We cut back in time a little bit. So while AR and WV actually saw this go down, it's implied PM was in her station, and she's sending a command to John, telling him to put the carved tablet into the parcel Pixis, and, you know, she's closing paradoxes.
Yeah. There's also kind of a joke about, like, the action text is, command John to do this.
Yeah.
And the response is, PM hears the command to command John, and commands John, and John responds to the command. It's like a double layer of commands.
Yeah.
Implying that she's being commanded like John's being commanded.
Yeah.
I feel like that's mostly a joke. I feel like there's not, like, a meta-textual thing, unless...
It's not a consistent metatextual thing.
It's
the
just
role of the action text is sometimes literally the text being sent by the exiles. Sometimes it's the narrator commanding the character.
Right. And also, Hussey, like, does, like, insert himself literally.
He does.
As, like, an orchestrator.
Yes.
As the author.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So it's just like a one-off joke.
Meanwhile, in the distant past, PM is, as parcel mistress, is in Jack's office.
Mm-hmm.
Which is empty and stacked with, so he's got those 3 fenestrated walls, and he's got heaps of parking tickets on his desk.
Yes. He also has the green package that she's after.
He does. And he's not there until he is and just kind of appears behind her.
He's like, "Can I help you?" like, and she, like, jumps, because, you know, that's kind of like sneak into an office, like...
Yeah. Well, she did. She wasn't sneaking, but, like, she is an enemy territory. She was going to take the package.
Right.
Like,
just, like, get, like, nervous in an office, and the manager comes up, like, "Can I help you?" You jump up.
Well, and he's a hostile presence. He's very hostile. And it's just... But it's also really funny.
He looks really goofy without his hat.
He looks really goofy without his hat. Like, he's got this, like, kind of cue ball-y head.
Yeah.
And he's, like... I think it's not so much that he's very short as PM is very tall.
Right.
But she's so much bigger than he is. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And Jack won't give her the package because it would be a paperwork nightmare.
Yeah. But what he does do is he gives her a sword and a hit list with 2 icons on it, one of which is a crown.
Yeah. Both of which are crowns.
Okay.
Different. Well, oh no.
They're different.
Well, one of them is a slightly more symbolic crown than the
Okay,
other.
I see. Yeah, it makes sense.
They are. If you're familiar with chess, I'm only explaining this because if you're familiar with chess, like, these are typical symbols used for these pieces, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise to you that the pieces of paper are like, they have the queen symbol and the king symbol.
I see.
So, he's giving her a sword and instructions to kill the white king and queen.
Right. So he's like, I'll do you a solid if you do me a solid. And she just, like, kind of sweats and backs out of the room. And then he's like, his narration is like, "You make a policy of handing out a regisword and a hit list to just about everyone who enters your office."
Yeah.
It's like, that's his response. It's like, if you want him to do something.
I feel like on some level that reminds me of, like, April on, Parks and Rec scheduling all of Ron's appointments for April 31st or something. Or April 30th, because she doesn't know there's a...
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, if you want...
Or what is it, March 31st?
Something like
March
that.
31st, yeah.
The one that she doesn't think
exists, yeah. She doesn't think there's a 31st day. But yeah, that's an excellent way to get rid of people. Yeah, go kill the king and queen. Bring their crowns back.
And then I can do you a
And then
favor.
I'll help you out, yeah. Which makes me wonder, like, what does he actually do? Does he do anything?
He seems to be, like, a bureaucrat.
Right, but I mean, he's also in charge of, like, keeping track of, like, John's dad, who's, like, a prisoner.
So, I mean,
whatever.
He's an archagent.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess he's, like, one of her like aides. She's assigned him to do certain tasks. And he seems to really hate it, but also take it very seriously.
Yes.
As long as he doesn't have to wear the stupid hat.
So he gets rid of PM. PM goes off, presumably, to go try and do this. And then Jack opens the package, and his face, like, literally falls. Like, his face condenses to the bottom quarter of his head.
Right, so he's always, like, growling. Like, I think every panel of him so far has been him, like, with his lips sneered and, like, his eyes, like, squinted to the maximum. And then he looks inside this package, and he just kind of, like, like, not even, like, just kind of dull surprise. Like, it doesn't, like, he doesn't have eyebrows, but, like, his eyebrows don't raise. Yeah,
he's just like, oh, I'm making a face at you guys, and you guys can't see my face.
In a very, like, immediate transition.
Yeah. He makes, like, the capital D : face.
Yeah.
Then, God, so much, like, boring stuff happens with Jade and Dave. Can we just, like, gloss over this, please?
Yeah, so basically he's just upgrading his alchemizer.
Yeah, he's upgrading his alchemiter, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just basically what he does is, thanks to Jade, like, drawing some things on her Pictionary modus, she's able to get ghost, like, captcha codes for objects they don't have yet.
And since he's leeching grist off of John, he can build all this stuff immediately.
Right, and then he, like, or he can, I mean, he doesn't even have to build them, he just punches the cards and then puts them onto, like, a special shunt, and that, like, attaches them to that machine. So instead of having to run between all these different machines in his house, he's got them all in one place, plus, like, some extras. So it's, like, pretty nice.
He gets, like, a little hologram, like, preview of what the machine's gonna make. He also gets the ability to, like, scale objects to a certain extent. Like, not like a sliding scale, but just kind of like 4 notches of size.
Using his own photo enlarger.
Yeah. Just,
so that's alchemy is kind of fun in that way.
Yeah, it's handy. It's just kind of like drawn out and not interesting in the specifics.
Hang on, I'm gonna get my shirt. I am chilly. My flannel. It's chilly. I'm usually wearing at least 2 shirts, if not more. I feel like as the weather gets colder, I hate wearing like heavy layers, so I'm much more likely to just wear like 2 t-shirts stacked on top of each other. Or, I don't know.
Oh yeah. One of the like a funny thing that happens here is one of the things that Jade tries to draw gets interpreted by the pad that she's one of the pad that she's drawing on. Nope. Let's try that again. One of the things that she tries to draw gets interpreted by her like
Pictionary modus.
Her Pictionary modus as
a transformer.
Like a huge spiky mech.
Yeah. Which, if you remember, I think it was a couple weeks ago, she tried to draw her advanced base, and it interpreted it as the Mars rover.
Yeah.
Or something like it. And,
yeah, so that's a pretty good recurring gag.
Yeah. Then they kept talking about, like, upgrading the thing, and I got Beyonce's Upgrade You stuck in my head. Then we kind of look away from this boring segment, and John finds his dad's car, which is empty, which we all know, but he is just discovering it. He's very disappointed because he was hoping to find Jade's present there and his server disk.
Yeah.
So then GC starts trolling him and...
CG.
No, GC.
One of us wrote this wrong.
Yeah, you wrote it wrong because carcinogeneticist, and then you said she. And for him to change the timeline, like, that's all.
Yeah. So CG, or...
Gallows Calibrator, teal text.
Gallows Calibrator.
Yeah.
Doesn't pester, but trolls.
Yeah.
John. And there's some more, like, characterization, which is really nice. Like, she seems really interesting.
Mm-hmm. She's very snarky. Like, but not all the time, but she's capable of, like, being very...
Yeah, like, she has a very, like, quick wit. Mm-hmm. She also is the most helpful so far of all the trolls.
She is, but, like, if you think about it, like, if you pay attention here... John keeps insisting on he keeps trying to figure out her motivation, but not very hard. And if you pay attention,
it's like he's trolling her.
Well, like, yes, but, like, she never really says why she wants to help them.
Right.
She says, she says, I'm motivated by self-interest because I'm bored, which is basically just a joke.
I thought there was something about, like, it benefits us both.
It benefits us both. She doesn't really say how.
Okay.
Yeah, she never gives her reasoning.
I mean, I just kind of took her word for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like because I feel like it's like she in her timeline has done this,
Yeah.
so she knows like what to do, and she's just trying to like speed him. She actually like gives him like a shortcut through one of the pipes, right to like the layer of the final boss, basically. And she's like, "Look, you can like go through all the same stuff I did, or you can just like go to the end."
Yeah. So here's how she describes it. She says, okay, so, and like this is consistent with the stuff that we learned from like the NPCs in the Act 3 game.
Mm-hmm.
So at the center of John's planet, or at the center of every kid's planet, is a denizen. And it's a huge monster. It guards an enormous horde of grist. GC describes it as more grist than you could ever meaningfully alchemize with. And it's needed for something called the ultimate alchemy. And what happens during your quest, like through these 7 gates on your planet, is you wake the denizen up and you get more powerful so that then you can go fight your awakened denizen, kill it, and get the grist horde, right?
Right, and also she says when you go through the 7th gate, that's when you go to the lowest point of the planet, like underground to where the beast is.
Right.
The denizen. Right,
and so the deal kind of is John's going to be able to kill the denizen way ahead of time by killing it in its sleep. So by skipping his questing, he's not going to wake it up. He's just going to cut straight through and go kill it.
Yeah. There is a shirtless man outside my window.
Doing something weird, like in his doorway. He's just been like standing there, like looking at something specific. He's gone now, but he was there for a while. He's directly in my line of sight. He's like between me and the, like if I look at the monitor, he's like just above the monitor in like my frame of vision.
It's fine. We had to get one of those in there.
What?
It's fine. Because there's no like technical issues this time.
You know what? You're right.
I mean, except for like both of us having technical issues in our lives and brains.
Don't we all have technical issues in our lives and brains?
Yes.
Anyway, Homestuck. GC, among other things, notices or points out to John that... So John is being skeptical at first when she's saying, like, I want to help you, and, like, being kind of shifty. And John is like, why? And first of all, she says, it's because you're a total nice guy pushover, and when you know you will eventually. And then he keeps asking her for her motivation, and she doesn't give it. But she seems pretty familiar with his personality, despite claiming that she's trolling him in linear time.
Right.
So that's one thing. Anyway.
That's such a funny sentence.
It is. Trolling him in linear time. And the idea is that she not only is she helping him succeed by letting him skip parts of the game, but so remember that these trolls can actually see the entire timeline spread out in front of them, and so she sees on this timeline that originally John actually does go through the 7 gates, wake the denizen, fight it. And so what she's proposing is that she disrupt the timeline.
Right. I think she specifically says, you humans, like, fuck this game up terribly.
Yeah.
So she's trying to stop that from happening for whatever reason that benefits her.
Yeah. Yeah, the kids are, it's honestly, it's like pretty foreboding. They're supposed to like fail pretty catastrophically and they're trying to, avert that. And so, yeah, she's saying like, let's cheat the game. Like, let's cheat the medium. You know, we're going to change the timeline. Right. And apparently her friends, you know, the other trolls don't necessarily believe that that's possible, but she's holding out. It seems like the trolls all have individual motives, and they're not really communicating on what those motives are. Or if they are, it's not to agree on them, it's just to discuss or argue.
Right. Actually, that, I don't know if it's, we can talk about it after, but, like, actually, CG and GC are in the same room?
Yeah, they're all in the same room.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, because, like, at one point, like, CG, or the girl goes over and, like, punches the boy in the arm. Yeah. Because, like, John told her to.
Yeah, so, it's really funny. So that's a little mini time paradox. Carcinogeneticist is talking to John and talking about how at some point he goes over and talks to Gallows Calibrator. Then he comes back And then a little while later, Gallows Calibrator comes over and punches him in the arm. And John is like, why would she do that? And he's like, I don't know. Then he immediately afterward, Gallows Calibrator talks to him, and John relays this information that Gallows Calibrator is speaking to him from her past. So before the punch ever happens, is when in her timeline she's speaking to John, but it's slightly after the punch in John's timeline.
Yeah.
And she's talking to him, and he tells her, like, oh yeah, you punch carcinogeneticist and all this stuff. And there's also some like vague like romantic tension between the two of them, like carcinogeneticist and Gallows Calibrator, or like weirdness there.
I read it as like sibling rivalry.
It's somewhere in between that dynamic. And you're not wrong. That really probably characterizes it more than anything else. Okay. They are not siblings, okay. but yeah, it's sort of this weird territory. But yeah, so he tells her that she will punch him and instigates the punching. Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, it's kind of like what they've been doing to the humans, like taking bits out of the timeline and like
playing them,
yeah.
Yeah.
So John's starting to like figure out like how to figure out where a troll is in the timeline when they're talking to him, and use that to his advantage.
Yeah, it's fun. So then we cut away from John for a while, and we take a look at Rose, who is badass.
She's like leaping all over the place with her knitting needles, taking out imps left and right. Mm-hmm. She like jumps on top of an ogre, and like knits around its neck.
Yeah, there's an ogre, right? These like enormous, they're like house sized. They're huge.
Not that big.
They're small house sized. Like the kids have big houses. Yeah, you know what? They're like if elephants stood up on their hind legs, right? Okay, this elephant-sized thing, Rose just like jumps up, jabs her knitting needles into its eyes, and then like carrying the yarn with her, like uses it as reins essentially, and like trips the ogre over the edge of her house and off the waterfall, and like stuns it. Leaves it floating in the water. It's not dead, so she doesn't have the grist yet. It's like floating unconscious in the water, and she just sets up her laptop on its back and starts pestering Dave.
Yeah.
She's, oh my god. The text is, knit the scarf, be the rider. Or knit the scarf, ride the ogre.
Yeah.
She like surfs it down the waterfall of her house. My girl.
Dave tells her to like stick her needles in its spinal cord, and she's just like, no, I want to like kick it when it's down. Yeah. On a fair fight. And then like Dave calls her like the range she used an Oedipal harness, like Oedipus. I don't really understand what he means by that. Like that doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Oedipal myth that I can think of. Oedipal myth. Edible myth. I don't either. I don't get that illusion. I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway. Hey, Brian.
Oh! Well, no, it's edible because at the end of it, Oedipus has his eyes gouged out.
Did she gouge out his eyes?
She gouged out the ogre's eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I was gonna like call for help from Brian to like with mythology.
Nice.
But that makes sense. Okay, so now Grim Auxiliatrix who is in the picture.
Yeah, she has jade green text with each word capitalized.
Which is much nicer to read.
Yes, and she is talking to Dave, asking him for advice to get into the good graces of Rose, who she tries to describe as, the one who is a little snooty. And she says, oh, you have some control over her or whatever, like your friends or whatever. And among other things, Dave uses the phrase "pimp master hustle daddy of all snippy book shrews," which like you could have chosen better words to commit that otherwise very charming, ingratiating wordplay with.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dave 100% calls GA out for having a thing for Rose. And they more or less admit to it. They pull out some sarcasm, which is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they're like trying on all these like human sarcasm, like facades, and they're having a lot of fun with it too.
They are.
They're also all like very good at turning a phrase.
They are,
especially considering like they're not like there's kind of using. They don't understand like human. They don't have a frame of reference for metaphors, really.
Right.
But they're using metaphorical language in like interesting, novel ways that they're trying to like piece together.
Right. And it's, I mean, part of it is that they're written by Andrew Hussey.
Oh, yeah,
so they're
sure.
going to turn, like, mad phraseology.
But it's, like, also in character. Like, it makes sense for them to be, like, trying to relate to these human teens by, like, saying cool things but not quite understanding the metaphor.
Yeah.
Like, I think Dave says, like, or Rose says you want to get Dave's goat. And the troll is like, I have no interest in receiving this human goat, or this earth goat. Unless you mean it metaphorically, in which case, yes.
Yeah.
And then later on in that log, they like incorporate the goat metaphor into what they're trying to say. So they're like trying to pick up on like communicating with these humans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're doing a good job.
Yeah. They've come a long way from like yelling that they're friends.
Yeah. And so the approach that Dave sort of settles on advocating for Rose is to be an antagonism ninja and basically say the opposite of what she means whenever she's trying to say something good to her, and just be like be antagonistic but in a clever way, a clever and pointed way.
Yeah.
And that Rose would respond well to that.
And he says like the opposite of what John and Dave do.
Yeah.
Or John and Jade do.
Yeah.
Which is, I think you mentioned really early on, is like their style is very direct and earnest, whereas Dave and Rose are very obtuse and like reserved, kind of like calculated sarcasm, and like not in a malicious way, but like in a carefully choosing their words way.
Right.
Whereas John and Jade just like spam exclamation points. And, oh man, I'm such a Jade in my writing.
You really are. Then, immediately after this conversation, Adios Toreador starts trolling Dave, who I think we've seen before.
Funny name, considering what we learned.
Like, shortly afterward?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah, it is absolutely a play on what we learned immediately afterward.
Yes. So, okay, you wrote down a bunch of, quote here.
Okay, so this is a fun conversation. He's trying to... So A.T., who we're about to find out is a boy in like 2 panels, which is why I'm saying this. He is trying to find out from Dave.
Brown text.
He has brown text. He has this insufferable fucking typing quirk of the first letter of every like clause. So like after a comma, it resets. Is uncapitalized, and then the rest is capitalized.
Yeah.
And every single thing ends with a comma, and it's atrocious to look at. It's brown, like, just nothing about it is pleasant at all. And he just has this very, like, sort of stumbling and, like, direct but fumbling way of saying
like,
things.
Self-defensive.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's so unpleasant to read. But, like, he's one of the only cringy characters I've ever enjoyed reading.
Yeah, for sure. I get that definitely so far.
Yeah. Excuse me, he's not pestering Dave, he's pestering Rose. He's pestering Rose to find out how better to troll Dave. And Rose does the same thing that Dave did in the last sort of pester log, which is saying like, oh, you totally have a thing for him, and AT is like, no, not at all. Like, I'm just trying to troll him, and like, okay. And Rose is just like, drop some hard, peer-reviewed motherfucking science on his ass, and some seriously government-funded shit. By which she means, rap at him. He will love it. And the thing is that AT doesn't even really, like, understand what she's saying, and, like, is having trouble following, and, like, is being kind of a jerk to her also, and then he finally is like, all right, cool, whatever, and then, like, blocks her, and then unblocks her, and then he, like, burns her, but then blocks her, then unblocks her, then says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to burn you, and Rose just types back in his typing quirk, with a comma.
Yeah.
Just,
oh my god.
Drags him.
The like, immediate unblock was, like, one of the funniest, just, like, textual gags. You can, like, the things that you can do with this medium of, like, the syntax that we all understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The pragmatics and everything.
Yeah.
So then we go to Grim Auxiliatrix is having her 7th conversation with Rose. And it comes out that from Rose's perspective, their first conversation was GA's second conversation with her. The conversation they're about to have will be GA's first, and GA sends Rose the transcript of that conversation, trying to justify why she was as hostile as she was in what was to her second conversation.
Right. So she wants Rose to repeat this transcript of what she said in her first meeting with her.
So, yeah, we're going to have to use names and no pronouns here. So GA, in GA's 7th conversation, Rose's second conversation. So Rose 2, GA 7, GA gives Rose the transcript of Rose 3, GA 1, which is about to happen.
Right.
And GA says, I want you to repeat back, everything in this transcript verbatim. Or not, right? But then says, I can't tell you whether or not I changed this transcript. So Rose has no way of knowing whether GA changed any of these words, whether GA is writing things that sound stupid into the transcript in the first place so that Rose will say them and thereby engineer the negative impression that then led GA to treat her with hostility or dismissiveness in GA2 Rose 1. Oh boy, you following along there? And then this really great line comes out. GA says, "It seems friendship for some humans is a basic aggregation of shallow and insincere hostilities." Then Rose accuses GA, I believe, of coordinating stuff with. GA actually says that she has been consulting with Dave. And Rose is like, no way could Dave think of something this sophisticated. And GA is like, well, he didn't exactly, but who better to coordinate such events than the Knight of Time? So now we know Dave's title.
Right.
He's the Knight of Time.
I thought that okay.
What?
I thought that was the Knight of blank was like the Knight of Time in the Troll instance.
Uh-huh.
And that she didn't know what Dave was. But I guess it's the other way around. That we don't know what the Troll instance was of Knight.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then GA just bails.
Yeah.
But then we see her.
Right, because so Rose points out, Rose is like, oh my god, are you sure you don't have a thing for him? It's okay, bro, you can admit it, which is basically the same thing Dave said to her.
Right.
Dave said to GA when GA was talking to him about Rose. And now Rose is like, oh, you have a thing for Dave.
Yeah.
Anyway, and GA just bails.
Yeah, also, I want to say, one of, I was talking about, mixed metaphors.
Yeah.
My favorite one was, GA says, pinching your larynx has already begun to supply my purpose with fruit. I don't even understand what that's supposed to mean.
I don't get who is she choking? What the...
It sounds like a really obtuse,
song?
way of, saying, an actual saying.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have any,
it's not a real saying. So the other thing is it's amazing because, every turn of phrase from her, because she capitalizes every word, sounds like a title of something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Pitching your lyrics has already begun to supply my purpose with fruit.
And it really doesn't, when we speak it, it doesn't come out, but you gotta read it.
Yeah.
And then so the next panel after that pester log is we get to see GA.
Yeah. And she, to me, looks a hell of a lot like Rose. She has, just the same hair style.
Similar hair. GA has an asymmetric hairstyle. She's got a little curly Q on her forehead. She's got some spiky bangs. She's got a spiky pixie cut basically, whereas Rose has a chin length bob with bangs and a headband. So pretty different hairstyles.
Okay, same hair shape.
Yes, roughly the same hair shape.
That's what I mean.
It is sort of close cropped.
Also, similar facial features.
Insofar as they both have eyelashes and like lips drawn.
Very like thick eyeliner, almost like mascara.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't mean like they look the same if they were real people. I just mean like
they're iconically rendered the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like they're not. I'm not saying that they're like the exact same person. I'm just saying like they're obviously meant to be paralleled.
Like, kind of. Yeah. Anyway, so this character has got, we see that she's got a long sleeve t-shirt on with a short sleeve t-shirt over top of it with, again, her astrological sign over it. And I think it might be, I don't know what it is. It's an M with a swirl.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
She also has, so she has one straight horn and one, like, barbed horn.
And that's actually one, like, that's when I see, like, fan art of the trolls, which before now I, like, didn't know who any of them were. But I've always, like, noticed, like, the one that has, like, a barbed horn. It looks like a really simplistic drawing of, like, a devil tail, almost.
Yeah.
Like, it's, because it, like, narrows, but then it kind of has, like, a crescent moon at the top.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like to imagine that Hazy is, like, slowly easing us into the weird horn designs. Because, like, the first one is just, like, these little nubs. Second one we see is, like, these longer ones. And then this kind of weird asymmetrical one.
Oh, man. Dude, just fucking brace yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so next we have this magnificent exchange between Adios Toreador. I'm reaching for their handles and all I'm getting is their real name.
I appreciate that.
It's like trying to speak a foreign language. It's like trying to speak the correct foreign language. You know, I would always reach for Italian and get Spanish. My dad would reach for Spanish and get German, which was really interesting. Anyway, so he leads in with, get ready to get straight in, flat down, broadside, school-fed up the bone bulge with, what? Like,
what?
Like, what? Like,
He's trying to rap.
He's real bad.
Yeah,
he's real bad.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he name drops Prospit and Durst. Durst being the Dark Kingdom's moon, Prospit being the Light Kingdom's moon. He just is, like, trying to, like, slam Dave in, like, a really just atrocious rap. Like, it's almost got rhythm.
I kind of want to, like, hear someone, like, reciting it.
Those videos exist, dude.
I'm sure. Because, like, so, like, there are, like, rhyming lines, but then there's also, like, he has lines in parentheses, which, like, don't seem to fit into it at all.
Yeah, they're, like, it's supposed to be, like, a hype man, but it's actually just him, like, muttering to himself. It's so...
I'm, like, trying to figure it out as he goes.
Yeah. Anyway, so then he, like... Dave is clearly unimpressed and typing things like, don't care, with, like, no punctuation.
Yeah, he's also, like, drawing a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff panel.
Yeah, he's, like, not engaged with this at all. And then he just, like... So AT, like, rattles off this, like, whole stupid thing and gets distracted in the middle and then finishes it and then, like, leaves. And the next panel is we see AT.
And I burst out laughing. So he, like... Oh, my God. How do I... He has enormous bull horns. Like, all the kids so far have had these little horns sticking out of their hair. AT, he's like, he has like a kind of a big head.
He's got a mohawk as well.
He doesn't even have a mohawk. He has like a horrifying hairline.
Yeah.
Where like, so he has like, these bull horns are sticking, like, they're like 4 inches thick.
Yeah.
And they're sticking out of the sides of his head.
Yeah.
And there's no hair around them.
Yeah.
Like, his hairline goes around them. Like, on the top of his head, and then goes down the front of his head to where a normal hairline is.
Yep.
So it looks like a widow's peak, but with like
flat,
with like a 5-inch base.
It's really, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's real bad. His hairline's real bad.
He's also making the dumbest face.
He's like, like, he's very pleased with
look
himself.
with his, like, pupils up, like, with his head over his mouth.
Yeah, God, his horns are so big. It's like, they stick, like, they go out horizontal, like, if you were sitting on a couch, like, the length of the couch.
Yeah.
And then up.
To the point where I noticed that his shirt is, like, a button on. Like, he can't put a shirt over his head, obviously.
I'm sure. Yeah. So that's pretty special.
Yeah.
And underneath the image of him is this, like, animated gif of, like, you just started some sick fires, bro, with, like, flames animated behind the text. Like, nice. So he's silly looking. Then we go to John, who pops out of the shortcut, a.k.a. this, like, oil pipe with the sound effect, flurp!
Yep. He flirps out.
Yes, he does.
With a bunch of his stuff, including the Con Air bunny that he got from Dave, right?
Yes. That was his birthday gift.
Right, which is covered in oil now.
Yeah.
And which floats away down a river.
But John goes and, like, seizes it. And then he spots, like, a salamander parent and their child. And he, like, acts out this scene from Con Air where... I guess the main character, like Nick Cage's character, finds, like, his, I guess, wife and daughter, and he's all, like, beat up and whatever, and he's got a bunny for his daughter, and
this is, like, overlaid, like, with images of the movie, like, stills from the movie.
Yeah, and then, and so John is, like, giving it to the little, like, the baby salamander, and then he, like, hugs the three of them, and they look completely nonplussed. They have the same blank expression.
And he's, like, weeping.
Yeah, and then we get a link to this clip from
Con
Air, and, like, specifically, like, with the song that... Did you actually watch the clip yet? We have to watch the clip where the song is important.
It's like a ballad from 15 years ago or something.
It's the,
It's a very, like, emotional... I don't remember which song exactly.
It's the Without You. Without you, there'd be no sun in my sky. There'd be no joy in my life. There'd be no world left for me.
Yeah.
Oh, and I need you in my arms, need you to hold. You're my world, my heart, my soul. If you ever leave, baby, that would take away everything that's good in my life.
Yeah. It's something.
Yeah.
I appreciate him, like, needing to act this out.
Yeah.
And the salamander is just kind of letting him.
Yeah, they're pretty complacent.
They also think he's, like, a savior.
Yes, they do. So I suppose they're pretty down with that. Then we have this really cute conversation where John and CG actually, like, talk about stuff.
Yeah.
They have a conversation.
Yeah, so CG, like, says that she knows about, human movies.
Yeah.
And, like, she's seen Con Air, I guess. And she thinks that...
CG, so this is carcinogeneticist. He's a boy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
So he thinks, that John's bad movies are good, right?
Yeah.
And he also describes some movies from the Troll Planet, which, their titles are a in-depth summary of the plot, including, like, twists. In sort of
parameterized terms.
Right. So he, like, names half of a movie and says it goes on.
Yeah.
And John's like, do you say that in normal conversation? And he's like, of course not. You just say, let's go to a movie, and everyone just shows up.
Yeah. Which is a funny way of, like, brushing off, like, a conceit about a society that doesn't really make sense. And he just is like, don't worry about it. Because, to be fair, like, there's lots of things about lots of societies that really don't make sense.
He also mentions that there are thousands of years of film history on his world.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. That reminds me of... I forget who exactly was saying... it was when GC was explaining the lore, basically, of when planets get reckoned.
Yeah.
She said that it could be thousands or millions of years before the technology to initiate the seeding again is uncovered. So that makes me think that maybe the culture kind of goes into a stasis until that is found or something.
What do you mean by a stasis?
Like things get up to, like, 20th century technology, and then either you find the technology that starts the seeding, or you just kind of stay pretty technologically stable until it gets found, maybe millions of years later.
Yeah,
or
no.
Just like, no? Okay.
No, you'll learn more about the Troll Society later on.
Okay.
They do still have film, and they do still use computers and stuff, but also lots of other things, but you'll see.
So, but is it, like, more advanced than human
technology? That assumes a linear concept of advancement. It's interesting.
Okay.
You'll see how they handle it.
Sure.
It is interesting. Then John actually lets CG know that that GC. This is the conversation where that whole exchange with John basically telling Gallows Calibrator to punch carcinogeneticist in the future.
Yeah.
That's where this actually goes down. Don't worry about it. It's just kind of funny. Don't worry about where it falls in the timeline. It's not actually important.
Much as stuff in the comic falls all over the timeline.
Yeah.
Our discussion of funny things that we remember falls all over the timeline of the podcast.
Oh my god, it's so meta.
This is also where CG says, "No wonder you losers all fuck up this game so bad." So that's we see that.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, so that's where the punch happens.
Mm-hmm. What else? Carcinogeneticist is talking about polishing. He wants her to polish his bone bulge and set a fucking table for two on it for their candlelight hate date.
Which is a pretty Dave turn of phrase.
Candlelight hate date. And John tells carcinogeneticist, so next time you talk to me, tell me to calm down so I don't just block you. Which is funny because if you remember one of their earlier conversations
Started with him
hey
saying,
John, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
And John goes, ah!
out of nowhere. It's so interesting that only one of them had the idea to speak to the humans linearly.
Yeah, that's pretty well.
I was saying, I think it was last time, the trolls, I guess, just don't, understand how linear the humans are. They have no frame of reference for it.
But, they absolutely should. I reiterate, there's no, it's literally just a lack of foresight. It's really not a cultural misunderstanding. They're just being dumb. They're just being kids.
I see, okay. Because, I probably shouldn't even ask this, but, do they just have a timeline for the humans, or do they biologically see the past and future?
No, they just have a timeline. That's reasonable to want to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only have a timeline. I guess this is meant sort of to look mysterious, but I think it's meant to be sort of clear by now. But yeah, they don't have a biological understanding. They're just looking at computer screens.
So okay, so they should assume that the humans
perceive linear time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they perceive linear time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just being dumb.
I got it. All right.
Yeah. Because, I think, the idea is, originally there was no strategy. They really were just doing this to, essentially just vent at the humans for fucking up their session so badly.
Okay.
And only later did the idea to do anything constructive emerge.
Right.
So then John is talking to GC and, getting the whole punching thing set in motion.
John says, timey-wimey.
John says timey-wimey. He does. It's cute. Then we go to John's location in the real world, which is, now that he's come out of this shortcut, he's at the Denizen's Palace.
Right.
Hang on a second. Can you shut the window? I'm freezing.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm super cold.
That's okay.
Forcing you to edit.
No. No editing. I genuinely think we can, just post this.
God. All right. Fine. Let's do it. In the raw. Sugar in the raw.
Okay. So John's at this Denizen's Palace, which is this, kind of a low castle, but with all these pipes kind of shooting up into the air out of it. So it looks a lot taller than the actual structure.
Right. It's sort of meant to evoke a pipe organ.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Which is pretty cool. This is where GC drops all of this world-building knowledge about the Denizen killing it in its sleep. And again, John just complies. John doesn't really even ask questions. He gives her these one word okay, yeah, sounds good, and just does what she tells him.
Yeah.
He seems really detached, and it's kind of creepy.
I kind of think that he's just tired at this point.
Yeah, but
he's just okay, fine, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, like, gonna give me straight answers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she kind of is, but, like, he doesn't have a structure for understanding all of it yet.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like, remember, like, they don't all have the same information. Like, we have, so far, like, a lot of information. We still have holes in our information, but the kids, like, they are in constant communication with each other, for the most part, but they don't have all the same information. So John just, like, doesn't know the stuff that CG told Rose.
Right.
So,
for example.
Yeah.
The CG told Rose, or the
GC?
GC told Rose?
I'm gonna keep messing that up.
That's okay. That's why I've been calling them by their full handles.
I guess GC girl character.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There's one way of thinking about it. So yeah, and that's about it. So John sees this this palace, but then Gallows Calibrator tells him, yeah, but I want you to go through this thing that looks a little bit like a tiny gate instead. And he goes, it's a return node, and he goes through it, and he pops up back in his bedroom.
Mm-hmm. And that is where we end today.
Yeah. So that's the end.
There's quite a lot of stuff happened today.
A bunch. There's a lot.
Oh
do we maybe want to skip listener questions?
No, because we have some specifically for today.
Oh, true. Okay.
So yeah, this is I mean, it's going to be a long one, but it's not going to be that long.
No.
So we're at 125 just with the reading, and we can just kind of hop through some listener questions.
Nice.
Would you like to tell them how to do that?
Oh, yeah. So if you guys want to send us questions, you can find us on Tumblr, where we are hamsteakpodcast.tumblr.com. If you type /ask after that, or you click the button that says ask us a question, you can ask us a question. You could even do it as an anonymous, because we have the box check that says we want to hear anonymous questions. So we would love to hear them from you. Do it. Thanks. Are we good?
We are good.
Woo!
I'm trying to remember, like, okay, actually, they have timestamps, which is useful.
Dope.
Do you want to ask me questions this time?
Do I want to ask you questions? Oh, man, I can actually see the inbox for the first time, because I'm sitting in front of Alex's computer, and he's logged in, and he has access to,
Logged in.
I'm in. I guess so we're picking up down here.
No, that's from last time.
Okay, so we're picking up with Tumblr user Johnnyness. I love that. I don't know why I like that so much, but I just... Johnnyness. Anyway, Johnnyness wants to know, have either of you watched any of the terrible movies John likes?
I don't have a list handy, and I don't really want to look one up.
I want to. Can we? Okay.
Just
pardon our typing.
Type softly. If it's just Nick Cage movies, I want to say American Treasure or whatever it's called.
Do you mean National Treasure?
Yeah, but that's actually like a good movie. I don't think John would like that.
National Treasure is awful.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I watched it when I was like 13.
Yeah.
I remember it being a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's just not. It's not like a high quality film. It's very silly. All right. So it looks like there's not a good list of films that John likes, but one that comes to mind for me is I don't even know what it's called. I have seen National Treasure, but he doesn't really talk about that one. I have seen I think he talks about this one where like something about blowing up a meteor.
Oh, I think there's two of those. There's
yeah,
like
I've seen
Armageddon,
one of them.
I think one of them is.
Yeah, I think I've seen Armageddon.
And then I think there's like another one with the same premise.
Yeah.
And one of them was bad and one of them was good, I think.
I think I saw the bad one though.
Makes sense.
I saw it in 7th grade science class. No, 6th grade science class. So I wasn't paying very much attention.
Okay.
Oh, here's another one. Oh, so Anonymous asked, Alex, what does Lydia look like when she really wants to say something but knows she would spoil you?
I guess just kind of like what you'd expect. I mean, I guess guys don't all know what Lydia looks like. But just like kind of...
I look like a human potato.
Nah.
Yeah.
A sweet potato.
Oh, gosh.
Just kind of like holding it in, like maybe a leg wiggle to like rein in the excitement. But I think that this was a bad day for that because we kind of just like talked frankly about stuff. Yeah.
There was a little bit this morning. We were talking to someone about Homestuck, and I was just trying to like not say the thing, but say the thing, but not say the thing, and it was rough. Alex just... honestly, it's more noticeable that Alex, like, covers his ears and, like... I don't know, you do, like, funny stuff when you don't want to be spoiled.
I mean, I couldn't actually... Like, I genuinely couldn't hear the audio from the Skype call with my ears covered.
All right.
I could hear you, though.
Oh, okay. It shouldn't...
You're talking about how I look like a dog?
No. No, but that's interesting that you took that away from it,
or,
of
like,
all things.
that there's a dog that, in the comic later, that reminds you of me.
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it. All right, next one is, Lydia, have you ever bought any of the Homestuck albums? Yes, I have. A long, long time ago, I bought the volumes 1 through 4, I think.
Nice.
And I still have them. I don't listen to them very often because, honestly, like... So the thing about Homestuck music, and especially with the albums, there's some really great tracks on there, and then a lot of... like, no offense to the creators, but, like, personally, they don't do anything for me.
That's what I find with a lot of, like...
Game music type thing.
Yeah, like soundtracks. Like,
Yeah.
there's like, the good nuggets, and then there's kind of just, like, the atmospheric stuff. And sometimes that's great, like, Undertale.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just kind of, like, filler.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree,
Or
exactly.
or even, it might even, like, be good music, but it's just, like, not exciting. It's just kind of, like, there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Shoss with the feels and the stuff said...
Yep.
If you didn't know, there is also another Homestuck podcast called Let Me Tell You About Homestuck. If you still are unsure of how to format episodes, it may give you ideas. I really like your podcast, so maybe check out the other podcast if you feel like it. So, funny that you tell us that, because we actually did... at least I listened to bits and pieces of Let Me Tell You About Homestuck. It seemed like it was discontinued, though.
Oh, that's too bad. I don't
actually know, though.
When we were starting this out, I did check, like, the iTunes store to see if there were other Homestuck podcasts.
Yeah.
And that one, like, it's they're actually, like, reading Homestuck on air. Like, they're...
Oh, that's what that one is?
I think they're taking turns, like
they're
expounding the dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't feel like... Well, first of all, I wouldn't want to do that because I wouldn't want to spoil what I'm doing or just, like, re-listen to what I just read.
Yeah.
But also, that probably... Like, Homestuck is very dependent on the visual medium. Mm-hmm. And that might be why they discontinued it, because it's honestly not that great of an idea to read Homestuck out loud.
Yeah.
It's dependent on the visuals.
It's also just a shit ton of work, frankly. Like, thousands and thousands of pages take way longer when you are very deliberately voice acting all the lines. God.
Right. And, like, I super respect them for trying that, and I'm sure they must have had, like, also analysis.
Yeah.
And, like, I think they also had, like, the one person's read it, one person hasn't.
Yeah.
But I hope those guys are doing well with whatever they're doing now. And I'm impressed that they attempted that undertaking.
Yeah, they got really far, too. So, yeah, they did a really good one. There's another Homestuck, I believe it's not quite a summary podcast, it's more like the...
It was a discussion podcast.
Yeah.
Analysis.
And they discussed different parts of it each week, which was pretty nice.
Not in linear order.
Yeah.
But, like...
That one was also kind of on hiatus.
Talking about themes, like, throughout it. Which, of course, I couldn't listen to.
Yeah.
Because of spoilers.
I listened to it. I don't remember the name of it. I guess we should put these in the show notes, but I think
it was just called the Homestuck Podcast.
I think so, yeah. And I really liked it, actually. The host was really, like, charming.
Cool.
And everything, so it was good info. So we'll put those in the show notes. All right, can you take the last one here? I know we answered it in our blog, but can you answer it in audio, too?
Yeah, someone actually submitted a post saying they couldn't find our episodes that weren't on SoundCloud. So when we started the podcast, we started on SoundCloud because it's, like, the most obvious, like, audio sharing platform. Mm-hmm. And, like, SoundCloud is great for music because their storage space is based on time limit. Like, you can upload a certain amount of minutes of audio for free. That is not great for podcasts because we quickly got to that. I think within 2 episodes we got to that limit.
Yeah.
And so we shelled out for a few months of storage, but
that's still got a cap based on
time.
Yeah.
So the way that Libsyn works is you get a storage, like a file size storage allowance per month, and then each month that resets. So you can upload a certain amount of information per month, which obviously is set up for podcasts and works great for podcasts, especially since you can compress audio
to
make smaller files. So, all that to say, that I tried last week I had the idea to upload the latest episode to SoundCloud so that we could have a nice, neat audio post on Tumblr for people to listen to easily, because that's really convenient. But the thing is that if we did that every week, we'd have to delete the old episodes, and then that would break the post. And in fact, our first few posts on Tumblr, which are the old episodes, which we deleted, are now broken because the files aren't there.
Yeah.
So all that to say that all of our episodes can be found at hamsteakpodcast.libsyn, that's libsyn.com.
Yep. So, yeah. And you can also find us on iTunes. We're in the iTunes store. You don't have to, I'm not saying, subscribe us or whatever, but, you can find us there. We're in there.
Yeah, that's handy.
It's a convenient interface.
Or on any podcaster of your choice.
Right, but then you got to figure out the feed, and that's the Libsyn feed.
No, it just goes through iTunes.
It does?
All the podcast apps just have the iTunes directory.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
That's
like Stitcher and everything?
Well, because yeah.
Huh.
They also have their own
okay.
directories.
But they load iTunes Plus.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's super handy.
Yeah. There's more.
Oh, that we entered that last. Mm-hmm. No, we didn't.
Okay, so
that's from
Jerode Dreesen, Trinity Codex, wants to know on Twitter, says, hey, I heard you like crows, but what do you think about octopuses? And what would happen if you combined the two?
Thank you for this question.
That's a good one. What do you think of octopi?
Super, I think it's pretty obvious from my, enthusing about crows that I like intelligent animals.
Yeah.
Octopi and squids are really intelligent as well. It's talk about tool use.
Oh man, oh god, I would love basically I'm just envisioning a feathery octopus that flies but can also climb trees and stuff, and frankly, fucking give it to me.
Imagining a helicopter octopus. Oh my god.
It's just got this bulbous body spinning rapidly, and then meanwhile its legs are flailing over its head.
Oh no, I mean
good.
the tentacles are
they're spinning around. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, my pantomime was inaccurate.
Not that
you
I
guys
noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really cool animals. Sadly, they're really intelligent, but since they live a super short time, they can never put that intelligence to good use, really.
What, octopi or crows?
Octopi.
Ah.
Crows can build a lifetime of tool use and pass that on to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Octopi are kind of whatever the plural you want it to be. They can figure out tool use, but they're not going to pass that on to their kids because they usually die in fertilization or childbirth or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that. So they only live a couple of years?
Yeah.
Oh.
But they're so smart. There was an octopus that unscrewed the filtration to its tank. Wandered out, ate a fish from another tank, went back to its tank, and screwed it back up in one night.
That's
and
amazing.
just kept doing it until all the other fish were gone.
Yeah. There's another one that recently escaped down a drain pipe and into the ocean. Has just disappeared.
Right, because they can squish themselves. The only parameter on how far they can squish themselves is their beak,
right?
Because it's the only solid, not solid, but the only hard part, non-flexible part. So their beak on a big octopus might just be a couple inches diameter, and any hole that size they can just squish through.
Yeah. It's really pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good-ass question. Good one. Fucking good. Thank you. All right, so at Dromedary says, I was having trouble not laughing at this as we were answering the last one. Now that this podcast is 100% Canadian, do you have anything you want to apologize for? I'm not sure I even get it, but sorry.
You don't get it.
I know. The joke is that the way that people in Canada say the word sorry.
I don't think it's the way we say sorry. I think it's the volume.
You say it a lot?
Yeah, I think it's our Like that's a stereotype. That's a stereotype with a heavy basis in truth that we're like. Actually, I'm a podcast that I listen to, The Allusionist, about language. Which is a British podcast, but it was talking about the difference in usage of please between Britons and Americans.
Okay.
Where it's kind of like, you know, the like millennial boomer divide in like thanks or no problem. It's kind of like that, where in America it's seen as patronizing sometimes to say please,
please
to a waiter. Like, could I please have? Like for me, it's completely natural to say, can I please have the hamburger?
Yeah, you don't do that in America.
Exactly, because it's seen as like patronizing maybe to the waiter.
Sort of, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's not exactly that it's patronizing. It's more. It's like it's too deferential.
Sure.
Like please is very deferential. Like you're acknowledging that like I'm really imposing on you, or I'm not in a position to ask for this at all. Something like that, or like I'm much lower than you on the totem pole.
That's so interesting because that's exactly what the Americans were saying on this podcast episode. We're gonna link to that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's like very, very deferential. So like you might say it. So you say it in situations where if you are in the service industry, then you have to use please.
Right.
But if you are a customer, you don't do it. I actually have a friend who always says, "May I please have?" Like when she orders things, and it's the weirdest fucking thing.
And like the other thing was like, in extreme circumstances, like, could I please like borrow your car?
Yeah.
Like when you're like putting the person out.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas in Canada or England, you would say, I know it's like putting you out, but could I borrow your car? Like the please is too casual for that for us. This is actually about sorry, but it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like differences in like, it's not that like Americans are ruder necessarily. I mean,
we're also rude as fuck.
Yeah, but like, I mean, but it's just like differences in like microculture, basically.
Yeah.
Like the culture around interactions.
Yeah.
Is just like nobody is like feeling more hurt by their peers.
Yeah.
It's just
within the group or anything.
It's just that the norms are different.
Yeah. Well, so so I spend a reasonable amount of time in this, or well, not a reasonable amount of time on a regular basis, but like, so I lived in the South last summer, and so I've always lived in the Northeast. I've lived in the suburbs in the New York metro area, and then right now I live just outside of Boston. And culture up north that I didn't even notice is pretty much, unless the person is like directly behind you, like a step or two behind you, you don't hold the door for them, because if you stop, you hold up traffic. And it's like you kind of block traffic and interrupt the flow of things, and it can kind of interrupt their flow of things too, to like get the door from you, and like it just kind of slows everything down. And why would you holding the door for them doesn't really actually save them any time, so like, why, like, would you do it? Why would you slow yourself down? Whatever. As I understand it, like, that seems like the unspoken sort of reasoning for that, which is very Northeastern. And then I went to the South, and I was on a university campus, too. And people from, like, 15 feet away, total strangers, at, like, the McDonald's, would see me coming, open the door, and step aside for me to go in after them. Constantly, like almost every time there like was a door and a human being ahead of me, that would go down. The person of any gender, any age, like kids would do it, and like I had to learn to do that because it occurred I like dropped a door behind me once or twice, and people are nice enough not to say anything about it, but I did it. I like heard the door close and was immediately like, oh, people around me would stare at me, and like it's rude there, and so I don't know. Different values. Not even values. It's just like different tradition, like different habits of culture. Yeah. Like, this is a podcast about Homestuck. I'm sure we could hide in somehow, but we won't. Yeah. Oh, you read it. Oh, we have another one? Oh. Final question. Okay, so Alex, what do you think of each of the kids' lands? What do you think each of the kids' lands will be? Sorry. I think that John's will be the land of wind and shade. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, it's been named explicitly. I'm doing a goof. Okay. I think possibly it might be that Rose's is the land of sun and rain. Guys, man, I'm sorry that I'm, like, dumb and not funny. I'm too stupid to be funny, but we'll try. We'll do our best. Anyway, so Alex figured out 2 of them.
That's it. I don't have any guesses. Well, I guess
You have nothing to say. You can just, like, hypothesize. It's fun that way.
I think that Dave's will be the land of gears and fire. No.
It is. That's not what it's called, but that's exactly the fuck what it is.
And
like,
Jade's will be the land of lava and ocean.
Sort of. A little further off.
Okay, I've only seen these lands as like little like chalk scribbles, so I'm doing my best.
True. Okay.
Well, this part's for you, so
okay.
I'll ask you. Or I guess you can just finish.
No, you can ask me. Ask me.
No, we have to.
Ah!
We have to finish.
We have to maintain the mystique. Okay. So Lydia, without spoilers, what is your favorite land overall? So land, as opposed to like planet, because I think honestly I'm most fond of the post-reckoning planet where we see spades. I know what planet it is. If you've reread, you know what planet it is, but I don't want to say 'cause it's a little bit of a spoiler. Not an important one. But yeah, it's the planet where we meet Spade Slick. I like that one, but that's not a land. So I guess my favorite land is definitely still, I don't know, I can't remember any of the other characters' lands. We've actually seen a ton of them by the end of the comic, and I don't remember them. Honestly, the Land of Light and Rain made the most impression on me, and I'm a huge fan of that one, so I like Lolar. I like Rose's Land the most. I would love to just go there. And that's it.
I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh, I didn't, there were no spoilers.
I covered my ears and then I like rubbed them really hard, so I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh my god. Alright. Good tactic, I guess.
My ears hurt now.
I'm sorry. I didn't
It's my fault.
plan to do it.
Thank you for listening to this special live episode of the Hamsteak Podcast. I would say it might be the only one, but we're going to be doing this for so long that it probably won't be.
Yeah, we'll be at this for at least another year, I think. Just over another year. So yeah. I imagine I'll see you within the next year at some point.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Hopefully. So thank you for listening. It's super long. We're sorry. We hope you enjoyed. So next week, I can't tell you what you're going to read next week yet because I haven't figured that out. We've run out of the ones that I set out ahead of time, and we're going to have to start doing that.
We'll probably post that like as a separate post like after the episode goes up, or just put it in the show notes.
I mean, yeah, you'll see it in the show notes. I'm just not going to say it right now because I don't know.
Okay.
And we don't want to edit this, so. What else? So if you want to follow us, you can find us on Tumblr. We are hamsteakpodcast.tumblr.com. You can also find us on Twitter. We are at hamsteakpodcast. Our podcast is hosted on Libsyn, hamsteakpodcast.libsyn.com, and we are in the iTunes store. You can send us an ask on Tumblr. We have an on turned on. You can send us an ask on Twitter via @ or DM. If you have spoilers, please send them directly to me. I am Brickchip on Twitter and on Tumblr. So send me, if you have spoilery things, DM them or send them as Tumblr asks to me specifically.
And I'm Alex.
That's Alex. He's Leaf Crunch. What? Damn it! Do you want me to read your thing or not? How long has the audio been turned off?
I'm Leaf Crunch on Twitter and Crunch Leaf on Tumblr. I mix those up, but you can figure it out. Bye.